Good morning. My name is Alan Ferdman. 49 years ago, my wife Pam and I moved to Santa Clarita. We raised 2 boys and have 5 grandchildren, and with my mother currently have 4 generations living in Santa Clarita. This is our home. We very much enjoy living here. What better reason than caring for family, friends, and neighbors to run for City Council and work toward a brighter future? As the Canyon Country Advisory Committee Chair for the past 12 years, I have devoted a great deal of time interacting with city staff and helping residents deal with city issues. Last year, our council approved over 700 pages of revised ordinances, all without wanting to comment on any of them. Acting as sanitation district directors, our incumbents voted to spend $350 million of your money over the next 20 years on removing salt from our wastewater. And at next Tuesday's council meeting, they will be deciding on whether to enter into a billboard agreement with Metro, which will put a local business out of business, eliminate the ability of many small businesses to advertise, convert open space to business park, permanently harm a Canyon Country neighborhood, and have the potential of putting monster 48-foot electronic billboards every 25 feet down the freeway. Also, Metro and the city can make a few bucks. This is not the way our residents should be treated or how the city should be managed. Imagine a new face on our city council who will work for you. I pledge to you to provide fair and impartial representation that you deserve. Join my team, vote Alan Ferdman, and together we will make a difference.
Do you think we should change anything about the structure of the current form of city government? For example, the number of seats on city council, having an elected mayor, having city council members elected by district, etc.?
Well, I think as the city continues to grow, and we would certainly like to see the areas west of the 5 and Castaic join us. It's going to take a methodology where those individuals in those areas feel comfortable that they will be well represented. If we look at how we work today, I don't think you can go to Canyon Country and expect people to say that we have equal representation and equal facilities in our area. All you have to do is go compare the 3 Metrolink stations, or go to Saugus and ask why there's no community center there. So I really believe that there needs to be some changes in the way we govern our city so that we have a fair distribution of facilities and wealth across the communities. So I would very much support looking at some changes to the current system and seeing if we could make it even better.
The city is looking at a billboard proposal from Metro. What do you think the city should do about this?
No vacillating on this one. The answer is just say no. This is a collaborative effort between the city and Metro. It harms local business. It harms businesses that are in business. The city should not be in competition with local businesses. They should be there to help them grow and become more vibrant. The idea of 48-foot electronic billboards on the freeway next to neighborhoods is something that I'm sure that the neighbors are not going to appreciate, and I think that it's going to give the flavor of Canyon Country and the flavor of the areas on the 5 different than what it is today. It's going to change it from being a rural area to being a Las Vegas-style strip. So in this area, I think it's absolutely wrong from a business standpoint. It's wrong from a governmental standpoint. It's wrong from a community standpoint, and I would just plain say no.
Should the Santa Clarita Valley's emergency winter shelter be available year-round to serve the entire Santa Clarita Valley population? And if so, where should it be located?
Well, as a member of the LA County Homeless Shelter Task Force who established the locations and the criteria for locations of the emergency winter shelter, about 4 years ago we were called back together to discuss permanent locations for permanent shelters with, at the time, Lori Ender, and a permanent shelter overlay zone was established using that same criteria. So there is today possible locations set aside for a permanent shelter. But the issue remains is that someone needs to find a way to fund it, someone needs to find a way to manage it. And of course, we should, as good citizens, look to help any of the less fortunate individuals in our city that have fallen into a situation where they need help, and I would support that, and I'm very happy that we already have established that criteria.
What do you think is the proper role of a city council member in terms of managing staff?
Yeah, I view a city council member very similar to a board of directors individual. Someone that sets policies, someone that sets goals, someone that sets standards, and someone that holds the person that's responsible for managing the staff accountable to make those goals. So we do hire the city manager, and the city manager should be held accountable to meet the goals and standards that the council sets, and they are the individual that actually manages the day-to-day operation of the staff. That being said, I still think accessibility to the staff would be the same as any citizen. You still should be able to confer with the staff, talk to the staff, but not direct the staff. Those kinds of things should come through the city manager or their delegee.
The city of Santa Clarita has successfully had well over 20 annexations. At times, the annexations are revenue neutral, meaning they don't cost the city anything. Other times, the annexations bring money to us as a result of increased sales tax, and there are times we'd actually lose money. Would you vote yes or no to annex Stevenson Ranch, West Ranch into the city of Santa Clarita?
Well, I think I'd already said that I would support moving to annex the Stevenson Ranch, the west side area. I think it would be it'd be beneficial to us to act as one city. I think it would be very discouraging for us to have two competing cities right next to each other. But at the same time, I know that in order to make that happen, we're going to have to implement changes to build confidence in West Ranch residents that they're going to get fairly represented, and the only reason why we're annexing them is not to gain revenue. So I would say yes. I'd like to see that area annexed into the city, and at the same time, I would like to see good dialogue and discussions going about how we can convince ourselves and the West Ranch folks that they're going to get equally and fairly represented.
In order to encourage economic growth, the city regularly supports businesses with either tax incentives or subsidies to bring more jobs to Santa Clarita. If elected, what types of these incentives or subsidies would you propose?
Well, I think that in some cases we have been limited in what we can do by the state. We have had certain things like the enterprise zone limited to us. I think in addition to just talking about tax incentives, I think one of the things that we certainly can do to attract jobs is to train qualified individuals. And I think that goes right to COC and the idea that we have a college here, and now that we also have a group of four-year colleges that are assisting in getting four-year degrees, that by training a highly effective, highly technical, well-educated group here in Santa Clarita, that would be one of the things that would be a very good incentive for having companies move here.
When is it appropriate for the city to use public tax dollars to support services that the county is responsible for funding? Can you provide an example?
I think I'll expand your question a little bit, Perry. It's what should the city do when any services that are drastically needed by our residents fall short? And that has to do, you asked for some examples. I think we did an excellent job when we added money to Meals on Wheels, and I understand that feeding housebound and seniors is extremely important, and we may have to go help them again. When we talk about drugs and trying to help our youth, we added money to the Boys and Girls Club. We certainly could use a community center, at least in every quadrant of the city, a senior center in every quadrant of the city. There are many, many things that when there is a need in the community, if we're going to be the responsible city council that we should be, they should look to us to find solutions to those needs and help out everybody that we can.